On March the 14th, 2008, Tibetans took to the streets in Lhasa in an unprecedented revolt against the Chinese authorities. The revolt turned violent, and protests spread like wildfire across Tibet. The Olympic torch was under attack around the world, and suddenly, China's global coming out party at the Beijing Olympics was under threat. Many Chinese blame Tibet's exiled spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, and his friends in the West for orchestrating the unrest. But no evidence has been made public, and while Tibet has experienced some of the fastest growth in China, many Tibetans say the hearts and minds of their people have been left behind, and some are growing more militant. Inside Tibet, it's an imprisonable offense even to have a photo of the Dalai Lama. China seems to view him as the largest obstacle to stability and sovereignty. But he claims to have abandoned the cause of independence, and many see him as a vital part of the solution.
I fully committed about one China. I fully committed my middle approach, so don't worry.
The problem is that the Chinese simply don't believe him. They claim that both the Dalai Lama and his advisors are separatists who cannot be trusted. That despite the words of peace, dialogue and compassion, their endgame is to split Tibet away from China. Yet what seems to be important to most Tibetans is that he returns to his homeland.
They're expressing that I should come to Tibet as soon as possible.
But time is not on his side. And is he sincere in his aim of autonomy, not independence? And are the Chinese sincere in their recent offer to talk meaningfully to the Dalai Lama's side? For the last 3 years, this film has had unprecedented access to the Dalai Lama and his inner circle, known by the Chinese as the Dalai clique. The footage of the actions and reactions of the Tibetan leader and those around him will inevitably be scrutinized carefully by those in Beijing. And for that reason, there's no voiceover. The Dalai Lama can speak for himself, and you can make up your own mind.
Prime Minister Paul Martin has agreed to meet the Dalai Lama when he comes to Ottawa.
The visit has sparked controversy. The government of China has rebuked Prime Minister Paul Martin for agreeing to meet with the exiled Tibetan spiritual leader in Ottawa next week.
He's aware that he's asked his people to be patient for almost half a century. Yes. And now the young generation is probably losing that patience.
간단다 이 먼저 링귀드 삼제다 워시스 신시 디나 저서 뒤미다 자도 둔주스 지데 다디 인도 가란즈 그저어때 다 다른 그들이 더야 미세 도나제제 단다보다 먼저 너무 망고지가 가서래 세미 시베 토네 갈래 잡대 지 잡조지 된데 고도 뭐도
대 산주어 대 산주어
Specifically, what should Canada be doing to accelerate democratic reform?
The Dalai Lama advised us in the context of our friendship with China.
We're a relatively small country. China is a powerful country that's likely to become more powerful.
In a friendly context. And to talk about the importance, ultimately, of human rights as a friend.
But that doesn't stop us from expressing our views and our perspectives, and I think we should do that more vigorously.
Religious leader saying he's 80% a Buddhist monk, not really a politician.
Canada passion, American Purangaviton in Shazza Yard, Chender Yard, Kalishton. Where is it? Yeah, Chender, just later. 딱 가서 딱 가시. 가시 그디 샤르스 가시 그디 마샤르스 딱 되죠.
Notwithstanding the tremendously profitable trade relationship we have with China, we cannot close our eyes to these things. These are serious problems. They are an affront not only to what we'd like to see happen to China, they're an affront to humanity, and these things have to change. But that doesn't mean we stay silent about the things we don't agree with.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome to this press conference.
I'm not saying independence. I believe if we remain within the People's Republic of China, we might get greater benefit.
Compared with the attitude of the Chinese leaders in the early ages, I found that this time some of the leaders that I met with in Beijing are much more relaxed and also for the first time willing to listen to our views. This, I think, is an opportunity for the Chinese side to demonstrate their sincerity, their willingness, because among the Tibetans, even among international observers, there is a great deal of skeptical attitude. Are the Chinese really very sincere? Are they conducting this exercise mainly because of the international pressure? Or are they really giving serious thought to resolve this issue through dialogue?
Prime Minister Paul Martin met with the Dalai Lama, something none of his predecessors has done, and despite strong objections from China.
It was called an interfaith spiritual gathering, but it's very much about delicate global politics. This is the image that will infuriate the Chinese.
We did discuss human rights. We discussed human rights generally, and we discussed human rights in Tibet.
That is not what China wanted. Chinese officials remain opposed to the visit because they say the Dalai Lama is a politician in exile, engaged in activities aimed at splitting China.
The only question is how much they can do. That's the question. And also they have to take sort of serious consideration about their good relation with China.
Do you ever wish you weren't the Dalai Lama?
No. The fact is fact. I'm Dalai Lama. And if I utilize my name properly, then also is one sort of benefit, one advantage.
And the training of Buddhism must help, I imagine, enormously.
No special training, nothing, ordinary. But I was very, very lazy student. I think because my mind is quite sharp, so I easily can learn. So the effort, very little. So very lazy.
You see everything, you see every part, you see all my light, and you love my dark, you dig everything of which I'm ashamed. It's not anything.
Welcome to Canada. Welcome. This is
We have to go back to Washington today, so this is the last time we'll see you. Love you.
How about no longer being masochistic? How about remembering your divinity?
Do you ever get nervous on events like this?
No.
ever?
Almost not.
Did you ever get nervous? Did you get nervous before?
Oh, yes. In 1954, my first meeting with Chairman Mao, very nervous. And especially Chairman Mao, I think some special thing, special quality is he can treat new person as an old friend.
One question. Would you get nervous with the Chinese premier now, do you think?
I don't think. Now, getting older, more experience.
A man who has tirelessly traveled the planet with his message of nonviolence.
Some people, you see, came to see me with the belief that Dalai Lama has some kind of miracle power or healing power. Then that's really nonsense, right? Sometimes the people introduce himself or herself, they have some kind of healing power. Of course, while I say, oh, very good, but in my mind, very skeptical, very skeptical. Now, many of our suffering or problems are essentially man-made. I think like the 11th September was the tragedy, unbelievable sort of event. These things are not happen suddenly, but many causes, conditions. And among the causes, conditions, one prime thing is hatred. We must look from wider perspective, and you can see, I think today's world, I think rule of hatred limited. Rule of compassion is vast, clear.
The Chinese Prime Minister Wen Xiaobao meets Tony Blair today. Officially, they're talking about trade and how to strengthen political ties. But no doubt the question of human rights will be discussed in diplomatic terms, including, of course, the question of Tibet. Alison Reynolds of the Free Tibet campaign believes the British government is well placed to influence the Chinese.
We know from former Chinese President Jiang Zemin that he did take note of a request by Tony Blair that he talk to the Dalai Lama. Now, this could be one of Blair's good news stories. This could be a non-violent resolution to a long-standing conflict. We are pushing against a door that's ajar now. There has been some contact between Beijing and representatives of the Dalai Lama. So we would like the British Prime Minister to secure from Wen Xiaobao a promise that those talks will proceed.
Can I ask you a question? I don't speak English language, sorry. Is Tibet part of China? I can't say anything.
The Chinese government, the Chinese authority use their common sense, then I think my approach is actually helping them. I think might be useful regarding stability and unity. The Chinese government, of course, understandably, their sort of way of approach to all problems, very cautious. It's important.
people say it's time for the Dalai Lama to return. Do you agree?
Well, we would like a unity within the sovereign. So as long as unity of the sovereign is respected, the door of negotiation is wide open.
Would you be happy to be a citizen of the Republic of China?
Oh, yes. If something good, certainly, no problem. So that's why we are not seeing independence.
As far as I know, the Dalai Lama would be happy to be a Chinese citizen.
Well, as long as individuals or groups or whatever recognize overall one's sovereignty, and every channel of negotiation is always open.
Can I ask where we're going now?
Audience, Tibetan, who recently come. Then some, I think, from Ladakh.
These are Tibetans who've come over from Tibet?
Yes.
Recently?
That's right. So I think almost every month, some Tibetan now come. So I always meet them and give them some, encouragement. That's my duty.
A lot of them come to see you?
Yes. I think with unrealistic expectation. Many of them return. So, in the past, because here, free country, no immediate danger. So they sometimes, due to our carelessness, when these people return, some gets arrested.
Why do you think the Chinese do that?
Ask them. Obviously, I'm reactionary. They consider splittist, anti-communist, Communist Party or anti-China, anti-Chinese people, even anti-Tibetan people.
따다 hindi. 그 사람은 이게 되게 왜? 그래. 나 가지도 않아. 어. 그러니까 내 보다는 별집에서 날이야. 소수면 학생을 장 인수 간격이라 제야리. 다디 계획 틀 때는 지름이 더 두산지 고도야다. 아니 차도 다 치면 밀리서 뭐 스토트야. 죄송아. 그냥 예치를 해야지. 대처를 말하는 게 내 말하는 게. 죄송아. 이제 자. 그러지 이제.
Someone who has achieved a lot and has done something for Tibet. Great achievement.
But now he got some serious illness. 이매직이네. 어떻게 돼야 되나? 밴드시죠. 식사하시는 친구들. 밴드시냐. 화해미고라 쇼 강사로 되나? 지원이야 남았어야 죄송아. 아니 소소 남친 인간이야. 라면 투걸이야. 팀이야. 같이. 이게 좀 화해미고 인고 죄송아. 하나만 더 줄어 봐. 정말로. 네 간섭님.
Liverpool's preparing for the arrival of one of the world's biggest spiritual leaders. The Dalai Lama will give a lecture at the Anglican Cathedral, where he's set to pick up an honorary fellowship from John Moores University. The Chinese government have complained about the visit. They occupy his home country of Tibet and accuse him of trying to split the motherland. The Dalai Lama fled in 1959 and has lived in exile ever since.
Your Holiness, using my powers as Vice-Chancellor of Liverpool John Moores University, I bestow upon you an honorary fellowship of the university. I congratulate you and I welcome you among us.
You're treating them like slaves.
It is now the truth.
I have seen it with my own eyes.
Where?
In Tibet.
I've been to Tibet. I've talked to the local people, and they love this country very much. They just hate Dalai Lama talking about big vows. Talk about nothing.
Stupid.
We love our country. We love any ethnic people, any minority. We're all together.
Whether we agree one another, whether we have different interests or not, we have to live on this planet together as a human society.
Does it surprise you if there's a Chinese protest outside the cathedral?
Today, I say, that's quite usual. Some of these young Chinese whole their life just distorted information. They are faithful about their own government policy. If we meet privately, may express differently.
Can you just wait for just a minute to let there's quite a crowd of people downstairs waiting to see you.
You're beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. He thinks Tibetan is different from Chinese. This land is different from China, but I think he probably just wants it for his own purpose. Because if he leads the country, he would be the master of the whole country. The rest are the slaves of him. Dalai Lama coming down.
So you're giving your lecture in Liverpool?
Hello. This is Jack Sword from... Very well. That man up there is the first British Foreign Secretary, Charles James Fox.
I see.
1782. He's above my desk here in the House of Commons.
Yes. You may be reincarnation of that person.
Do you mind using the hands one more time, sir? Sorry? Just shaking hands one more time.
Did he tell you what was discussed with Premier Wen Jiabao earlier in the month?
Yes, he mentioned. So when they met, so they raised the Tibet issue. They found the Chinese attitude rather strong.
And did they have any news about when the Chinese might invite the envoys back to Beijing?
No. So I told him, we are hoping within a few months another visit may go, I told.
If there's no positive result from the visits, would you consider going back to Tibet unconditionally?
I mean, without the certain limited sort of freedom, there's no use to go. Huh? Perhaps if the present situation remains in a few years, then we'll go like this way. But Tibetan nation will not die.
딸이 준익이 방송에야 주도를 좀 주셔. 제가 아니 방송원인 제자들이 단도 14부시 나오라마죠. 다 단대 차르시는 파도하게 때리 준익체 서구도 서고 교수지 루트니 아웃다 보시지. 근데 이제 보세요. 다들 건서 참여 있으면 내가 치셔도 다 노도 이제 다리 나 친지 다 예시대서 또 가고 싶다리네. 방 투도식. 어머니 정리에 가서 돼. 다 가서 다 로직 나와 로직. 칠 benajik tabini tan sobi sene maju runina ngo tan sobi che tende mai bi che
ya ko de yu jigdi ko da lo ban chungdi ye ine ta teri ya ji turim bijine ma ta di tuni ye sa ji ge chumi ah
sabushnaji teri qaza tabju ji yu ge unze wone ba ko tani de mangu chi chung ta de ne su de mangu che de ji ni phang na lo ta de uji gi 직다 원지 탑주 통에 강의 시켜서 이내 되게 나도 파 인자 도고도 장랑이야 태가 마드 가사디 까지나 디템백이 좀 도고 땡케 땡디 차지셔
How was the missing Holiness? Good. Good. I'm very happy. A third visit now materialized. Very good.
We have very clear instructions yesterday from the Prime Minister and today from His Holiness himself. So,
are you nervous?
Well, the responsibility is always overwhelming. I think the trust that has been imposed on us by His Holiness and by the Prime Minister, but also we know that this task has relevance to the future of a nation, of a people.
is running out for Tibet. Every day while we are sitting here praying for world peace, inside Tibet there's more and more and more and more Chinese moving in. And as I see it, the Chinese are playing for time and we are playing into their hands. Recently, the Chinese invited the special envoys of His Holiness the Dalai Lama to Beijing for a paid holiday. In the meanwhile, more and more and more Chinese in Tibet. No, officially, senior Chinese leaders have already mentioned plans to resettle some 30 million in Tibet. The truth is, they could and they will send in 100 million and still have too many left.
Tangatsu miyu tsooti pyoge tumuma imbe chuda rishung yuchikumbe shilu. Tije di nyamcha mandruwa shine nyago uyore. Di nyaya la chapsi gi rawan chasan ji yubatan, chapsi gi rawan chasan mayab chene, dewa yinu shtashtak chibar ke dru yuwa mare samdu. Tangatsu riwa cheya di ngangatsu gundun tije di tsamalo.
This thing about hoping for talks, talking about talks, waiting for talks. I've always been saying it takes two to shake hands, but only one to throw a punch. I have outlined what I've called my strategy of the mosquito, where the soft underbelly of China's increasingly market-oriented economy, now that is vulnerable to all manner of action.
Payal chevina Kuransu shenan chishuti jangurmuchi kuisi jindang zabatile tola shenan chivi yore tanghe dus payal chevina kandes chene jawurmuchi pa budan jana dendi shune enchike zabatile nyur tanya gi tabshi che tugu yuto yamina kandes chene jangurmuchi pa pe mowajne kusi chasan chilol cher juya tabshi gidu logo mebre samdu kunzu ta tsuti gi amare kange chishuti logo mebta tsu matiba ta yine nga tu tanda jangul chi gonu ya pendu yubi insan digi tembe sinzab jire ma to chitanda bugi kanyote masama isne deg mare.
The middle way policy is founded on this assumption that Tibet cannot be free. Now we have to seek some compromise. But I keep asking, where is it written that Tibet cannot be free?
됐어요.
잠시 이렇게.
그렇잖아요.
우리 오늘은 그래서 거저 나리 다고도 앞에 가는 장비 직 여러 델프야 인스. 때문에 어디 가는 비사 장식 들이대. 아니 장소 우리는 그래서 집어서
지금도 써야 잡으래.
이 간지 굴리고.
저 대표서야.
아니 다가는 이제 달라나면 얘는 여기 미카지 제다도 돌리는 제쇼 되니 먼저 파선 대가 돌시다 너기 내가 잡지 못 차인 게 있지. 어디 들을 수 있어. 아니 야 다가는 이제 야 배우는 콜림비나 다 간다. 수 이제 얼마 조금 제주는 내고제 돈단이 도도 다른 데도 카레 제비는 자와라는 우리 셔도다 메스 그 멤비는 참아 단도 보도다니 China 원에 내주 송가 파자원 그냥 쉬어서 아니 주도 템포 쉬어베기 다들 세월이 차이도 이나야 아니 내부셔지 아니 내주 카셔 돈 아니 사고도 더 버겁지 아니 내주 카셔 돈 가래 다도 도와 잡치안
Would you call this negotiation or not yet?
Not yet. Not yet. As I mentioned before, they try to build confidence. So each visit certainly makes some contribution regarding building up of confidence. So that's my view. I told them that it will take time, so a few more years. Some people usually have so much sort of attachment to your own birthplace or your own land. So that's not important. But important is the opportunity to serve some sort of, some contribution. People put a lot of trust, a lot of hope, faith. So I have moral responsibility to see them, to help them. But when it comes, I don't know. Still too early to say.
It's a great honor to be able to speak with you about some of our recent work on transforming the emotional mind. And I will be talking about it from a neuroscience perspective.
다테마 그렇지 뭐래 뒤인지정이야 천리변 안에 터나한테 채로 주기도 없이 도와 내가 좀 사적이 다테마 타만 군주지야디 나 계획이다 미지 뭐네 다시 천리야 터나를 세체 나 도선저 총그레스 다전에 준비기 다디 미지기 다 내준 멤버 다 지 벽이 때문에 배 날린데 주주기 다 낭셔바 당다 천리고 지웅기다 간다 바랄이야 아주 지금 다 저지 처기에 소리다 저지 뒤에서
Emotional tendencies or traits can be transformed through mental training.
아주 시사니 다 무슨 대돼야지 다 이제 시간다 다 고소들 차차용도 가다对吧 전들 음식 서로 땅도 가서 그래. 또 공부 신실해. 편의자로 맛있어를 주고 슈기쟁이 좀 미사掉.
Yes.
Could you tell me where we are?
Center of the planet. Of course, Buddha Gaya. I think in Buddhist world, this place is considered most sacred place because Buddha Shakyamuni, about more than 2,500 years ago, you see, he actually achieved enlightenment under this tree. So that's our belief. So now we become refugee. Now last more than 45 years. Many occasions, very easily can reach here. That's very fortunate.
安上面公办个些心态，所有个早点个切都讲我们去，那边都是就新爱人了，让对我这个瓦里啊，但那最后是啥个，上头了亲戚，将他们这段节个问题有个来空个我这那不是他，搞到那样，但别最都是钱呢，但那最看个三不单十差不几个套呢。 Kadu naya ta ane shara suja sigor tisu kable ta yang chi ne chu mangu tolia duling phurab chi chongje dos chongdu tom ja win tu kala ta ngaran chu rumich number 2 jeji na la na chu language shu chung ta ya ge che to re nga chu ngala de su di rungu chi yo ma re ngaran chu ko sa mu su phe ne pe kamen na che pa so duling na be ne ta tre di thwa ne te bi ne Tendenta Europe Chiki, to Sunesuchi, Kan Jonjo Chilia, Kusa Tova Shivati, Pape Tubaina, and the Candice Chene, Shimu Lamne, Jangurumuchi Jana, the Pul Payagi, Kokabjite Guyuto.
제가 좀 구섭소 마치 가두인비나야 단다 섬나라 부저빙서 가두이나 섬나라 뭐홀루지 맨로 그 섬나 로도데 따와케지도요 저롱에 뭐네야 제네 자원을 붙이게 롱준 남베게 롱모멘 토리인비나야 소소래가 생인비나 디실로키 여버직다 안 잡여 저와데 타마치 대사지 써요 뭐 대야 이직 때데 말람지 고르스 라신 수인비나야 소소 제가 레드데라 이지 매비나야 레가데 사수 중고 매버다 아니 가족 원인 비나야 자도는 내가 체도 좀가 편시 세지 타로 파도 셰도 부제제 가지기 아니 별거 내도인데 다 쪼데 자원 부제 다 미치랑 다 시사 뭐좀 투대요데 안 자원 부제 다 오늘 누주스 패사 부제 제가 마슈티인데 좀 비나 아니 별거 내도인 세야데 매버 차로를 세제 디 섬수데 다동인 비나야 요 타수 임부다 이 제기 다 내수데 된데 자니 말에 편지 가지고 다 타면 토래 가지고 논주 제기 봤어 뭐만 아니 장가시 시차부 저걸라니 자태만에 쓰지나 보지. 호주 냠시셰시 어떤 내가 타주 마신 야도 다다 인베 태만에서 타주 모두 타유 비인자 근데 인빈자 다다 벽을 내야 되는데 태만에서 다부터 차고를 쓰시 고도 쉬고 준 거예요 보자. 가서 투두시 저와 휴친 부채비나 야나 섬다 섬도 야 땅에 민주적이 섬줄 때서 내가 더야 돌리비나 땐데 편도시 명예 섬산식 드레지 용구도
What does it mean to be a monk?
I think at practical level, become monk. That means the whole life then become single person, more freedom. If you're determined to practice spirituality, then no interference. But if you, really carry, sincerely, then like that. But if you just change clothes, it's not much meaning.
Tenzin, the Belgian trip, I hear there's been a slight delay.
The King of Belgium is planning to visit China at the same time His Holiness was visiting Belgium. So as usual, His Holiness doesn't want to provide any inconvenience to any government. So His Holiness felt it would be better if he indefinitely postponed the visit so that it didn't coincide with the royal visit to the PRC.
It had nothing to do with the Chinese pressure?
No, His Holiness just felt that it wasn't a suitable time.
Het nieuws met Birgit van Mol.
De Dalai Lama, de spirituele leider van Tibet, komt in juni niet naar België. Het ziet er naar uit dat hij onder druk is gezet door China. Want koning Albert gaat net op dat moment naar Peking.
Wel, toevallig viel dat samen met het officieel bezoek van koning Albert aan China. We hebben dat voorgelegd aan de Dalai Lama. En de Dalai Lama heeft zelf zonder enige druk beslist om niet te komen, omdat het een algemene beleidslijn is van de Dalai Lama geen problemen te willen maken tussen China en derde landen.
Paus Johannes Paulus heeft vanmorgen het zondaggebed Angelus gebeden van op zijn ziekenbed. Normaal geeft de katholiek...
I think what happened was, His Holiness found out that his visit to Belgium coincides with the visit of the Belgian king's state visit to the People's Republic of China. So in order not to pose any obstacle or, cause unnecessary friction, he decided to postpone his visit.
What it says here on this news site.
What does it say?
The problem was submitted to the Dalai Lama, who has a policy of not wanting to harm relations between third countries and China. The Dalai Lama took his decision in all freedom. Is that true?
I have no comment on that.
I've heard about your trip to Belgium.
Oh.
I've heard that it's been cancelled.
Yes.
Are you sad about that?
No. Usually I do not want to create any sort of inconvenience to concerned government. So it seems the Belgian government find a little inconvenience. So okay. Although some sort of the group of people who invited me give teaching, certainly they disappoint.
Been waiting 5 years for it, I hear. They've been waiting 5 years.
That's the reality. It's possible. You see, they are just, for say, pretended. They still not believe Dalai Lama. If they say now Dalai Lama is sincerely committed about middle-wave approach, meantime not allowed to China, that's a big contradiction. How to explain to Chinese people?
ina kwang su nyai de ta zo to mo ma ina chang su she ni mo res lo chang pe zo ina ya de Dalai Lama ka su chi chu sho mo pe ina Dalai Lama ni chap se ni na cha de shi de ga de za wa na ta iwa che shi na ka bo res an ta
If among the public Dalai Lama more popular than communist, so Dalai Lama return to China, that is impossible. And also their greatest fear, if I go to Tibet, Tibetan people's emotion may express, then things become out of control. So till you see, they feel safe, they have to show their own people Dalai Lama still is committing wrongdoing. My interest is past, look future. Future, two separate nations for common interest must come together, live together, work together for common interest. Now, this is time.
Freedom sets it. 아니 freedom sets it. 나 아주 남자 그때가 되게 먼저 이시상을 캐치 먹어. 지 freedom 라서 파도 비 유디가 야이 나오나 같이 간다 미안한 제세들아.
Do you think most Tibetans would be happy to be Chinese citizens?
Once they saw the beneficial. Oh, we are proud. Our citizens or people from China, huge country, big country.
prosperity. We need better education, better road, better economy. We accepted that, we welcomed that. Actually, we feel grateful. So therefore, we will be in better situation if we remain with the people of China. Then real union, happy union.
Shekta France wani tanda pasu jawade, tendina tanda kazan se chuna jin cheche putchik nya chikda. Ani tanda pasu kimche wina lor kaje chimbu wina ya today version do so chabe. To china never chege pasu. Never chege.
In the Chinese mind, they are so suspicious, and they say they have doubts about your sincerity. If President Hu Jintao was sitting here, what would you say to him?
Come here, watch what we are doing, and if necessary, go through all our file. Then they may convince. Otherwise, word.
Really, sometimes I personally feel that His Holiness has been too patient. Since 3-4 years ago, I would have given up. Really. In spite of all the concession that His Holiness made, and in spite of all this really sincere efforts he made to convince the Tibetans that this path that he's following, not asking for independence.
One time, I met some youth who want some critical about my approach. And I told them, yes, now, short moment, let us think about violence. Then we need weapon. Just a few hundred weapons is nothing. At least more than 100,000. And first, from where we will get? From Indian government? No. From rest of Asian country? No. Even Western countries, I don't think. Then, most important, how to send to Tibet. Finally, to Chinese, elimination of 100,000 is nothing. For us, even 100, difficult.
His Holiness now says, after so many years, there's been no concrete response from the Chinese side, and therefore, that I'm leaving it to the people to decide. Nobody could blame His Holiness.
Is there any way that you might change your approach, or will you always be?
No. So long I'm alive, no.
The least they could do is to give some indication that the compromise that His Holiness made is being viewed in a favorable light. Nothing.
Do you ever have moments of doubt?
No.
Never?
Never. If I die today, no worry. Only worry is what happened in Tibet. Because they, whether because of the practically or because of the realistically or unrealistically, you see, too much sort of because of the expectation on me. I'm quite sure if news come, Dalai Lama die, I think many Tibetans, at least I think several thousand will die. Shock. Or almost a suicide. That happened, I feel, including some Chinese.
How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel?
Oh, determined I should leave.
When the Dalai Lama walks into the Capitol Rotunda today, he will both accept the nation's most prestigious civilian award and once again incur the wrath of the Chinese government. The Chinese government lobbied hard to stop the congressional award from being presented to the Tibetan spiritual leader. But not only will the ceremony go ahead today, President Bush will speak at the presentation, making it the first time a U.S. president appears in public with the Dalai Lama.
U.S. presidents have met privately with the Dalai Lama for years. But it wasn't until today that any of them had lent the prestige of the office to a public event in his honor. You join a growing list of world leaders who are stepping forward to say in public what the world has long known. The Tibetan people have a right to their heritage, their freedom, and the man we honor today is not only courageous, but also right to demand both. The U.S. Congress stands with Tibet.
Over the years, Congress has conferred the gold medal on many great figures in history, usually at a time when their struggles were over and won. Today, Congress has chosen to do something different. It has conferred this honor on a figure whose work continues and whose outcome remains uncertain. In doing so, America raises its voice in the call for religious liberty and basic human rights. Americans cannot look to the plight of the religiously oppressed and close our eyes or turn away. And that is why I will continue to urge the leaders of China to welcome the Dalai Lama to China. They will find this good man to be a man of peace and reconciliation.
The official Chinese news agency has reported that 10 people are confirmed dead in the riots.
The official Chinese death toll now has climbed up to 16.
But Tibet's government in exile, led by the Dalai Lama, says that 100 people have been killed. Some of them
very difficult to tell. Journalists have still been banned from going independently to Tibet, and
Walking around the city last night, you could see that there were huge numbers of burnt-out shops. You could still smell smoke in the air. There are obvious signs that there had been a very dramatic and violent event in this area a couple of weeks ago.
The week-long protests in Tibet over Beijing's rule have now spread to neighbouring parts of China. It's believed the unrest started after exile.
China believes that its rule in Tibet, 57 years of direct control in Tibet, is working despite widespread anger from Tibetans at that Chinese rule.
The Chinese government continues to accuse the Dalai Lama of being behind the protests in Tibet.
The man in charge of the Olympic Games, Jacques Rocha, has said the Games are facing a crisis because of anti-China protests.
Thanks. Right now, China is feeling a little bit bashed and knocked about. It had planned its torch relay to be a journey of harmony across 21 countries. Instead, it's had to deal with pictures of scuffles and protests, and there are still 14.
I am a Buddhist monk. There's something very, very dear to me.
The exiled spiritual leader of Tibet, the Dalai Lama, has said the Chinese people deserve to hold the Olympic Games. He said Tibetans were not anti-Chinese.
The Dalai Lama has an immense, incredible vision. He's not only thinking of Tibetans, he's thinking of Chinese. He is a Buddhist leader. He's not just a Tibetan leader. And as a Buddhist leader, he's trying to think of all beings. And he's trying to think of China as much as Tibet.
China said today that it is now ready to talk again to representatives of the Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama. China has held such talks before, and it does look as if China is reacting to the international criticism of its recent...
I think a lot of Tibetans are going to see this as a delaying tactic, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe the Chinese will pull something out of the hat and actually produce some progress here.
whether I am really reincarnation of a previous life, previous Dalai Lama or not, I don't know. Quite often in my dream, I recognize myself, I am Buddhist monk. Almost I never sort of dreamt I am Dalai Lama. So the real identity, me is monk, Buddhist monk. Nobody can change that.
Ko